I took a dead patient in the lift, but he sat up and spoke my name. The night that followed still haunts me, and I'm not sure I escaped whatever was inside that ambulance. I've been an ambulance driver for over a decade, and I thought I'd seen it all. Burnt cars, broken bones, lifeless faces. But nothing could have prepared me for what happened that night. It was a rainy Friday, one of those nights when the streets are empty and every sound echoes too loudly. I was parked near the emergency entrance of St. Mary's Hospital, sipping lukewarm coffee, when the sirens of another ambulance broke the silence. They brought in a man named Michael Harris, maybe in his late 20s, bloodied and broken from a highway accident. His wife and brother ran after the gurney, crying, their shoes squeaking on the wet hospital floor. I helped them wheel him into the ER. The doctors rushed him straight to surgery, and I went back to waiting. The surgery took hours, but somehow Michael made it. They moved him to a cabin on the 4th floor, and for a brief moment, everyone was relieved. But that didn't last. Less than an hour later, alarms went off. His vitals crashed. I was in the cafeteria when I heard the commotion. By the time I got back to the floor, Michael was gone. I've seen people die before, but there was something different about that room. The air felt heavy. His wife fainted. His brother kept muttering something about a curse. I didn't ask. I just did my job, helping prepare the body for transfer. They wanted him taken back to their village for the burial. It was close to 3 a.m. when I started moving Michael's body. His family had gone downstairs to finish paperwork, so I decided to take the body alone. The hospital was too quiet. Even the hum of the fluorescent lights felt eerie. I pushed the stretcher into the elevator, pressed the ground floor button, and leaned against the wall, exhausted. The doors closed with a metallic clang, and the lift began its slow descent. Then I heard it, a faint shift like someone adjusting under a blanket. I froze. My eyes moved to the stretcher. The white sheet covering Michael's body twitched. At first, I told myself it was just the movement of the elevator. But then, the sheet slid slightly, revealing part of his face. His eyes were open. I swear to God, he was staring right at me. My heart stopped. I hit the emergency button, but the lift suddenly jolted and stopped between floors. The lights flickered, buzzing like angry insects, before dimming into a dull yellow glow. And then the corpse sat up. I've never felt fear like that before. Michael's lifeless body sat up, slow and stiff, like something was pulling invisible strings on his bones. His head tilted toward me, and his mouth opened, but no sound came out, just a hollow wheeze. I couldn't move. I wanted to scream, but my throat locked up. I just stood there, back pressed against the elevator wall, staring as his lips slowly started to move. You can't save me. I swear I heard it, like a whisper inside my own skull. His voice didn't sound like a normal voice. It was deeper, layered, like multiple people were speaking through him. The lights flickered again, and the entire lift shook violently. I grabbed the stretcher, trying to keep it steady, but Michael's body lurched forward. His cold hand brushed against my arm, and I felt my skin crawl as if ice water had poured through my veins. I started pounding the emergency button, yelling for help, but no one came. My radio, which I always keep on me, was just static. I've never felt fear like that before. Michael's lifeless body sat up, slow and stiff, like something was pulling invisible strings on his bones. His head tilted toward me, and his mouth opened, but no sound came out, just a hollow wheeze. I couldn't move. I wanted to scream, but my throat locked up. I just stood there, back pressed against the elevator wall, staring as his lips slowly started to move. You can't save me. I swear I heard it, like a whisper inside my own skull. His voice didn't sound like a normal voice. It was deeper, layered, like multiple people were speaking through him. The lights flickered again, and the entire lift shook violently. I grabbed the stretcher, trying to keep it steady, but Michael's body lurched forward. His cold hand brushed against my arm, and I felt my skin crawl as if ice water had poured through my veins. I started pounding the emergency button, yelling for help, but no one came. My radio, which I always keep on me, was just static. Then, I heard a strange sound. It wasn't coming from Michael's mouth. It was coming from the speakers of the elevator. A low, distorted voice. He's not ready to leave. Why did you bring him here? My heart was slamming against my ribs. I tried to tell myself I was imagining things. Maybe I was just exhausted. Maybe the lift malfunctioned. But then Michael's body slowly turned its head toward me again. His lips curling into something that looked like a smirk. You'll come with me, if you stay. That broke me. I started slamming my fists against the door, screaming for someone to open it. My voice cracked. My hands started bleeding from the force. And then, just like that, the lights went out. The darkness inside that elevator felt alive. I could still sense Michael sitting up, his presence heavy, his breathing, or whatever that sound was, right next to me. I pressed myself into the corner, shaking, whispering to myself that this wasn't real. Then I felt it. A hand, cold, rigid, clutching my wrist. I lashed out, hitting nothing but air. My eyes adjusted to the faint glow of the emergency light that suddenly flickered on. The body was still lying down on the stretcher. His eyes were closed again. My heart was pounding so hard I thought I'd pass out. That's when I heard the sound of the elevator moving again. Slowly, it creaked down to the ground floor, the doors opening with a loud groan. The hospital hallway looked normal. Too normal. I rushed the stretcher out of there, nearly tripping over my own feet. Michael's relatives saw me and immediately asked if something was wrong. I couldn't answer them. I must have looked pale as death itself. "Driver, are you okay?" one of them asked. I didn't answer. I just muttered something about the lift and walked away to get the ambulance ready. My hands were still shaking as I adjusted the stretcher inside the van. I kept telling myself that it was my mind playing tricks on me. But deep down, I knew what I saw. The road was dark, almost too dark for a city highway. Michael's relatives sat silently in the back seat of the ambulance, their faces pale and eyes downcast. I tried to focus on the road, but my hands wouldn't stop trembling on the steering wheel. About 15 minutes into the drive, I felt something strange. The air inside the ambulance grew heavy, thick, like someone had shut off all ventilation. I glanced at the rearview mirror and froze. Michael's body bag had moved. It was subtle, just a small shift like someone inside had rolled over. I blinked hard, convincing myself it was the bumps on the road. But then, from the corner of my eye, I saw his hand, pale and stiff, slip out from under the zipper. I slammed the brakes. His relatives gasped. One of them asked, "Driver, why did you stop?" I didn't answer right away. My heart was pounding. I opened the small sliding window that connects the driver's area to the patient compartment, and my voice cracked as I said, "Did any of you touch him?" They looked at me like I was insane. "He's dead," one of them whispered. Just then, the ambulance lights flickered. A low, vibrating hum filled the cabin, like the engine was growling from somewhere deep. And then, clear as day, I heard Michael's voice, from the back of the van. "Take me back!" The relatives screamed. One of them started praying under their breath. I was paralyzed for a moment, gripping the wheel so hard my knuckles turned white. I floored the accelerator. I just wanted to get out of there, to reach their village, to hand over the body and forget this nightmare. But the faster I drove, the stranger things got. The GPS glitched out, showing random directions. The headlights flickered, and sometimes the road ahead looked wrong. I saw shadows on the highway, people standing in the middle of the road. But when I blinked, they were gone. At one point, I swear I saw Michael's reflection in the side mirror. Not his dead face, his living face, twisted and angry. His mouth was moving like he was shouting, but I couldn't hear anything except static. Suddenly, the ambulance engine cut off. We rolled to a stop on an empty stretch of road. The relatives panicked, yelling at me to fix it. But I couldn't move. I could feel someone standing directly behind me, breathing on my neck. I turned around slowly, and there he was, Michael, sitting upright in the stretcher, staring at me with hollow black eyes. I jumped out of the van, gasping for air. His relatives started screaming. One of them fainted. The lights inside the ambulance went out completely. And then I heard it, a laugh. Not human, broken like static. The road was completely empty. Not a single car in sight. The countryside was dark, with no houses or streetlights nearby. I stood frozen outside the ambulance, trying to catch my breath, while Michael's relatives screamed inside. One of them yelled, "Help him! He's moving!" I gathered my courage and opened the back doors. Michael's dead body was no longer lying down. He was sitting upright on the stretcher, his head slightly tilted as if he was listening to something. His eyes, once closed forever, were wide open, staring at me with a glassy, lifeless gaze. The smell of rot filled the air. His mouth opened slowly, unnaturally wide, and a deep, guttural voice spoke. Not his voice, but something darker. The road was completely empty. Not a single car in sight. The countryside was dark, with no houses or streetlights nearby. I stood frozen outside the ambulance, trying to catch my breath, while Michael's relatives screamed inside. One of them yelled, "Help him! He's moving!" I gathered my courage and opened the back doors. Michael's dead body was no longer lying down. He was sitting upright on the stretcher, his head slightly tilted as if he was listening to something. His eyes, once closed forever, were wide open, staring at me with a glassy, lifeless gaze. The smell of rot filled the air. His mouth opened slowly, unnaturally wide, and a deep, guttural voice spoke. Not his voice, but something darker. "You shouldn't have taken me in that lift." I stumbled backward, tripping over my own feet. My heart was pounding so hard I thought I'd faint. The relatives tried to hold him down, but he didn't move like a human anymore. His limbs were stiff, but somehow he was crawling off the stretcher with jerky, unnatural movements. I slammed the doors shut and yelled for everyone to get out of the van. Suddenly, the engine roared to life on its own. The ambulance lights flashed, and the siren wailed without me touching anything. It felt like the vehicle itself was possessed. We abandoned the ambulance right there and ran to the nearby roadside shack. The relatives were crying, some praying, while I was shaking uncontrollably. After a few minutes, the siren stopped. The van went quiet. I slowly walked back, holding a crowbar I found near the shack. I peeked inside. Michael was lying down again, zipped up in the bag as if nothing had happened. But I knew this wasn't over. We somehow reached the village late that night. I drove in silence, my eyes fixed on the road, refusing to look in the mirrors. I could feel someone breathing down my neck the entire drive. After the burial, I thought it was over, but I was wrong. For days after that night, I couldn't sleep. At night, I'd hear knocking on my window. I'd wake up drenched in sweat. And once, I found muddy footprints inside my room leading straight to my bed. Finally, I went to see one of Michael's relatives again. When I told him everything, he looked pale and whispered, "We didn't tell you. Michael practiced black magic. He died because of it. Maybe he's not at peace." That night, I packed my bags and left the city. But even now, years later, I sometimes wake up at 3 a.m. hearing that broken laugh from the back of my head. And sometimes, I dream I'm in that lift again. Only this time, I don't get out.